Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the August 21st meeting of the San Dimas Rotary Club. My name is Steve Scott. I am the president. Before we get into our normal introductions, very happy to welcome back our district governor, Mike Drevey, who had such a great time last week that he wanted to come back one more time. Mike, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I appreciate it, Steve. You know, guys, I apologize. There was something very important that I meant to do when I met with you last, and I completely neglected it. And I didn't want too much more time to go by without addressing it. I have asked every president to help me identify a very special Rotarian in each club that I visit. And your president was very eager to have this individual recognized. The person that we're recognizing today was president for 2 straight years, from 2021 to 23. And under his leadership, the club started a satellite club and grew membership from roughly 12 to almost 30. He's headed up several projects, including food drives for military bases, in which the clubs donated almost 20 tons of food. Additionally, he guided the club through the COVID years by setting up the Zoom process. And Steve tells me he's been a member of the club for about 15 years and that he has never seen it more healthy or more impactful in the community than it is right now. And that's largely due to this very special Rotarian and the hours and hours of work he's put in. He also sets up all of the speakers. In fact, I understand you've had folks from Ukraine, Israel, Africa, just to name a few. Bottom line, many feel that the club may not have survived, much less thrived over the last few years without the amazing leadership and passion this very special Rotarian has demonstrated. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me recognize Raymond Foster.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Raymond. Thank you for all you do, buddy.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very well said.
Have a great meeting, guys, and I'll look forward to seeing you and chatting with you again soon.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming through. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Okay. Now let's move on to our introductions as we do with every meeting. Let's start with Marilyn Sparks. Marilyn, how's everything today?
Hello, happy to be here. My name is Marilyn Sparks. I'm an insurance agency owner in San Dimas. I also serve as the Los Angeles County Insurance Commissioner.
Thank you so much for being here, Marilyn. Sylvia, how are you today?
Good, thank you for asking. My name is Sylvia Melendez. I'm the CEO here at the San Dimas Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks so much for being here, Sylvia. Appreciate it. Hi, Margarita. Am I safe? Did I do well? All right.
Good afternoon, Rita McGee, local attorney here in San Dimas and chronic volunteer.
Okay. Well said. Happy to have you here. Thanks so much. And Doran, how are you today?
Hey, I'm doing well. Visiting Rotarian, at least for the moment. Great to be with you all. I'm Doran Barnes. I serve as Chief Executive Officer of Foothill Transit, a member of the Planning Commission, and I work part-time for Sylvia and other stuff.
Thanks so much for being here, Doran. Really appreciate it. Mike Wallace, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Good to see everybody. Mike Wallace, I'm the president of Better Home Financial, a real estate mortgage brokerage here in San Dimas. Been a Rotarian for a long time. I don't know, probably coming up close to 10 years.
I think you're 11.
11, okay. All right, I'll take it.
Thanks for being here, Mike. Hello, Marianne. Oh, Marianne may not be there. We'll come back to her. Now for our very special Rotarian, Raymond, how are you today?
Fine. Now, I've heard the governor speak. I'm definitely a minor Greek god, so just beware. Thunderbolts are coming next. Thank you for arranging that, Steve, and for the kind words. What really motivates me to work in this Rotary Club is the fellow Rotarians. I don't know a person in our club that's not a golden person to me with their heart and their capabilities. You know, so thank you to all of you.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for everything you do, Raymond. We will give Marianne one more chance. Marianne, are you there? Okay, we'll circle back after our speaker. And as I say every week, and this week is no different. The reason that our club has thrived so much, or one of the reasons, is we've been able to get some amazing speakers. Today is one of those scenarios. We are very happy to welcome Jason Moss, Executive Director of Jewish Foundation of Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. Jason has dedicated his life to working with Jewish community to help people strengthen their Jewish identity and their connection with the Jewish community. Jason joined the staff of the Jewish Federation of Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys in March of 2005, and in October of 2008, he was named Executive Director. Jason, thanks so much for being here with us. Take it away.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. As Steve mentioned, so my organization, the Jewish Federation of the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys, serves as the voice for the Jewish community. And when I say Jewish community, I'm talking an area from Glendale to Rancho Cucamonga and south to Whittier. Roughly the same square mileage as Rhode Island, or as one of the former consul general of Israel said, say Israel, it's so much better and cleaner as a Jewish organization. But our mission is to build community by strengthening and enhancing Jewish life. And we do that through the programs and services we provide. But our vision really is to be a resource for everything Jewish in the Greater San Gabriel and Pomona Valleys. We are a safe place for people to find their way into and connect with both their Judaism and the Jewish community. The programs and services we provide celebrate Jewish community and create opportunities for people to engage with the beauty and richness of Jewish culture. And as I mentioned earlier, we are the Jewish voice for our local community, the eyes and ears who serve to locally educate and promote Judaism and Jewish life. And it is in that capacity that I'm speaking with all of you today to kind of make you aware of the organization. We've been around for just over 30 years. In fact, we just celebrated our 30th anniversary. And in the work that we do, think of it like a community center without walls. Because of our vast community, we work very closely with our local synagogues to provide opportunities for Jews in the community to connect to one another through programs and services that happen on a macro level versus our synagogues that operate on a micro level, very insularly focused on their membership. But we do things as a way to create opportunities to bring people together. We have a whole series of programs like a Jewish Book Festival that we conduct at the end of October through the beginning of December, where we bring in authors that have written books on Jewish topics or they themselves are Jewish. We have an outreach program called PJ Library, which is fashioned after Dolly Parton's program to eradicate illiteracy in Tennessee. It's a way to engage Jewish families with children ages 0 to 13 to increase their Jewish connection by sending them a free book every month. We have a cultural arts program that we have a cooking show that we show once a month. We have a what we call our JFED players that do a play, a fall play and a spring musical. We just did Fiddler on the Roof last year. We're getting ready to do Wisdom of Eve, which is based on the same story of the movie All About Eve. That will be later next month. We also have a Jewish summer camp for our communities, entering kindergartners through 8th graders. Have a CIT program connected with that, and also hire staff as well to run it. Last year we launched the first of what we think is of its kind, a Ladies of Laughter celebrating funny Jewish women. It's a comedy festival as a way to celebrate and highlight during Women's Month in March the funny Jewish women. We did a series of we did stand-up, we did sketch comedy. We created an award in honor of Gilda Radner for breaking the mold. This year we're expanding. We're going to do a series of one-act plays. We're going to do a movie screening and expanding out throughout the community. And 6 years ago, we launched a 25-hour Holocaust commemoration that we do in partnership with the city of Pasadena called Every Person Has a Name. It's a way to bring our community together around the time that UN International Holocaust Remembrance Day is commemorated, which happens to be January 27th to 28th. That date was selected because it happens to be the day that Auschwitz was liberated in 1945. And we have a collection of about 150 volunteers that come to City Hall and read names of those that were murdered during the Holocaust. The event itself opens with a commemoration ceremony. We get many local elected officials. And then at 8 o'clock, we begin reading names. And we do not stop reading names until 8 p.m. the next day. It's a powerful experience. In fact, if you keep in mind the number of people we remember, in a course of 24 hours, we say roughly anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 names. And if we were to do that, to try to capture the 6 million lives lost during the Holocaust or killed during the Holocaust, it would take over 2 years and 40 days to do that. And so it's a way for our community to remember, but it's also a way for us as an organization to show the community not only that we remember, but the impact of what can happen when hate goes unchecked. It serves as a reminder. We also have a Holocaust exhibition that we have done typically in partnership with the Yad Vashem, which is the Israel's National Holocaust Museum. So it's a way to educate. The second year we did this, we actually had City of Pasadena's police dispatcher or the watch commander send her officers through the exhibition to kind of serve as that reminder for why they do what they do. But in addition to those programs, like I mentioned, we also serve as the voice for the community so that when issues arise, we are the advocate on behalf of the local community. We estimate that between 30 and 45,000 Jews in our community. Many do not belong to synagogues, while religious institutions across the spectrum, Jewish, Christian, Muslim, other faiths as well, are seeing a decline in religious affiliation with an institution. Jewish affiliation collectively is actually on the rise. And so what we're trying to ensure that people know about is that there is a vibrant Jewish community on the outskirts of the third largest Jewish population in the entire world, behind Israel, New York, and then LA. And so some of the work that we've been doing over the last several years in that realm of advocacy is, things like contacting our local school district to make them aware of when the Jewish holidays are, because of the fluctuation, because we use a lunar calendar instead of a regular Gregorian calendar, where the holidays shift based on the moon cycle. So we need to constantly educate them as to when those dates are, in order to avoid any scheduling conflicts or try to minimize the scheduling conflicts against the major holidays. Because what you may not be aware of is the California Education Code prevents any publicizing of religious holidays. And so if you look at school calendars, even Christmas is not listed on the school calendar. The challenge with that is that school districts often do not keep track of all the other holidays that take place on internal calendars, which causes problems when tests are scheduled or homecoming, back to school nights conflict with the major Jewish holidays, which prevent the Jewish community from actually participating in those school activities. When those issues arise, I'm the spokesperson that goes to talk to the school districts. And I try in my presentations to make them aware of the benefit of being aware of other holidays as well, to try to avoid it as a way to kind of provide a holistic approach of educating the student, of all students, to be aware of what those students are and who they are. And with the soon-to-be graduation requirement of ethnic studies being taught for seniors that will have to take it most likely by 2030, to be that liaison for the community, so that when issues arise or questions arise, that they have a central place to be able to come to and speak to. Part of my work also is to be the liaison to a local elected officials, which is actually how I got here to all of you today, is through when Supervisor Barger opened her new office in San Dimas. I happened to be there, and Raymond, I think I met with you, correct? Or Steve, when we happened to bump into each other and introduce myself, and that's why I got here today. Recently, a lot of the work that we've been doing, or I've been doing on behalf of the organization, has been focused really on advocacy, developing a comprehensive community-wide security plan for our institutions. When the rise of shootings were taking place at religious institutions, there was a realization within the Jewish community as a local target, typically in communities, that we needed to have a comprehensive plan, that it didn't matter what each institution was doing, that each institution needed to have a plan. And so I worked closely with the security arm of the Jewish community called Secure Community Network to develop a plan, shared it with the FBI through my relationship with them. In fact, they said that they wanted to use the plan to be able to share with other communities, with the rise of anti-Semitism, with the rise of hate, there was a realization that the Jewish community needed to develop a core group of allies. I wrote a series of op-eds and also did outreach to local city councils, asking them to adopt resolutions condemning anti-Semitism and all forms of hate. And while we cover a total of 48 cities in our vast area, we got 29 cities to adopt resolutions and or issue proclamations. Sadly, for whatever reason, Laverne and San Dimas never signed on to this effort, even though we made some constant strides and push for that also with Supervisor Barger's office. But that work is ongoing because, as you've seen, even before October 7th, the attack in Israel, the rise of hate that's targeted the Jewish community has become prolific. Thankfully, in the most part in our community, we haven't seen much. We've seen isolated events, but that climate and that fervent aspect of hate tends to target the Jewish community first always. Anti-Semitism is considered to be the canary in the coal mine. And so when it pops its ugly head, other forms of hate and targeting other groups tends to follow suit. And so we've been trying to be at the forefront as much as possible to educate the community, make them more aware of the issue. And of course, following October 7th, we've been responding to lots of incidents of anti-Jewish sentiment because as people consider what's going on in Israel, they look at the Jewish community as Israel's proxy. Even though many in the Jewish community do not agree with the current administration in Israel, the fact is that we have a target on our back because of what's playing out and that feeling that there's not enough being done to protect the Palestinians who are also the victims of the attack because of the leadership they elected as Hamas. And so we've been doing a lot of work to try to raise awareness at cities that were looking to adopt resolutions calling for a ceasefire. It's not that the Jewish community is against ceasefire. In fact, Israel consistently has agreed to terms of internationally negotiated ceasefire, but it's very hard to have peace if another side is not willing to say yes and support that effort. And so these efforts that are taking place at both colleges and the city councils have really raised the amount of hatred towards the Jewish community because of the implication that the Jewish community is not for peace or the end of the war. And so while these efforts which were being made were made with whole heart, really wanted to do the right thing, the implication, the inference that was being inferred by the language in the resolutions and the calls from the community really makes it very difficult for the Jewish community. It has increased the amount of fear and strife for us that we're facing today. And so the Jewish Federation is kind of serving as that point organization to address that as a whole. So I wanted to, that's it. That's kind of what our federation does. We are always looking to partner and educate and provide opportunities to connect, find other community members. We do a lot of work on interfaith work. What was not mentioned in my introduction also is that I also happen to be a commissioner appointed by Supervisor Barger on the Commission for Human Relations that does a lot of work to try to tamp down the amount of hatred towards the other in society. The organization, this entity has been around at the county level for over 50 years. In fact, it's at the forefront of many and similar commissions across the country. They are the ones behind LA versus Hate, the annual effort to try and eradicate hate in LA County. And so there are opportunities that each of your organizations can actually do to partner with LA versus Hate during their United Against Hate Week, which is the middle to end of September. The dates are not off the top of my head right now. But it's within that role as the Jewish liaison in the community that I'm kind of serving in that capacity as well at the county level. So I'm open to questions if you have any, and it really can be on the whole spectrum of what I shared, current events. If you have questions that have been burning, unsure who to ask, this is an opportunity to do that, but it also doesn't have to stop here. Raymond and Steve, you're more than welcome to share my contact information with everybody so that when questions arise, you don't know who to ask or turn to or something comes up, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer anything or speak with anybody further.
Jason, thank you. That was an impressive amount of efficiency to get that much information in that short little window.
I have a lot of experience because the name of our organization is so long that I speak really fast.
I thought the same when I read it. I thank you for your advocacy, first and foremost. And clearly you talked about a lot of different things, all serious, but different levels of serious. Clearly, I mean, just through pure ignorance, I remember reading as a Dodger fan about Sandy Koufax not playing on Passover.
On Yom Kippur, actually. It was on Yom Kippur.
Oh, it was Yom Kippur. I apologize.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize the conflicts that may come up at schools. That's really simple stuff that those of us who are unaware just don't know.
And I think
so that, I appreciate the education, certainly.
Absolutely. And I think in those situations where sometimes it might feel like there is malintent behind it, it actually is just an ignorance in a true ignorance standpoint, the true meaning of ignorance. And it's not willful. It's just, oh, we hadn't thought about it. That makes a lot of sense. So what can we do to begin to change our ways of doing things? Greater awareness as a whole, as a prime example. We send out an 8-year calendar because we learned that teacher negotiations, the school calendar is usually built into that negotiation. So it's a 5-year contract a lot of times. So as a way to avoid any negotiations of missing those dates, we make sure that everyone has the eight years worth of information. So that because we know the dates for eternity, because of how rooted they are within the Jewish calendar and where they fall within the regular calendar.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Jason?
Yeah, I have two questions.
Yep.
What I find fascinating, I hope you can explain this or delve into it. The holidays that you celebrate are millennial old. An example, you just had the 9th of Av come up, and I think you talked about it.
Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av it dates back to the destruction of the great temple in Israel. It actually commemorates both destructions. So there were 2 temples. It's a day of fast. It's a day of mourning because it's a tying us to our past and the realization of the importance of remembering. Judaism is very focused on the idea of remembering, not for remembering's sake, but realizing that we had people that built the foundation to where we are today. So, and then shortly after that, we had a holiday that's similar to Valentine's Day in the newest sense, called Tu B'Av, which is the Day of Love. So there's some holidays that kind of are the ones that you know about, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Passover, Hanukkah. Just so you know, Hanukkah is actually the most minor of the Jewish holidays. In fact, it's not even included in the Hebrew Bible because it was a civil war between Jew versus Jew. And the great rabbis at the time said, we cannot celebrate this celebration because it coincided with a war of secularism versus observance. So yeah. So long answers to Raymond, to your question, but yes, it's a commemoration of the destruction of the temple.
One last question. Can you explain the Shabbat at the beginning of the month?
You mean Rosh Hodesh or the Sabbath?
Well, at the beginning of every month, you have a special blessing for the.
Yes. Yes. So, as I mentioned, the Jewish calendar is based on a lunar calendar. And if you date it back to the Bible, we call the Hebrew Bible, Christianity calls the Old Testament. Testament means truth. In Judaism, we don't believe there's a second truth, so there's no need for a new truth. It's just the truth, which is why we call it the Hebrew Bible. A Hebrew day is based on the first verses of the Bible. There was evening, there was morning, the first day. So we are lunar based. So our days begin at sunset. And because of that, every month there is something called Rosh Chodesh, which is a celebration of the new month, which is like the new cycle of the moon. So when there's a new moon, there is a special little ceremony that is commemorating that moment. It has been adopted as in many ways as a feminist holiday. I can't explain why, but many women's groups use it as a celebration moment. Our Sabbath begins on Friday night, runs till Saturday night at sundown. We have a special service to separate what we call holy and profane, the regular week, and then that period of time, which is our Sabbath. But we hold on to it just a little bit longer because of the specialness of this idea of day of rest and marking the creation. And we call it Havdalah, which means separation. But it's that little special moment that just allows us to hold on just a little bit longer to the specialness of our Sabbath before we go into the day-to-day operations of our regular lives.
Thank you. Marilyn, you had a question, I believe.
I did. It's a little more serious.
That's okay.
In light of the events of October, do you feel that there is an evolution of the definition of anti-Semitism? And does the IHRA help with that definition?
So that's a fantastic question. So those of you that are not aware, Marilyn is referencing the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition on anti-Semitism. This organization and the community as a whole realize that it's very hard to identify what anti-Semitism is if you don't define what it is, and to basically hold it up as a standard as to what qualifies as anti-Semitism versus anti-Israel sentiment and anti-Zionism.
Mm-hmm.
It's an awkward thing because it's so parallel in so many different ways. A lot of the anti-Israel sentiment that has come up recently can be termed anti-Semitism as well because of the nature in which it is being conducted. Intent behind it as well, and the messaging, the labeling and blaming and the targeting of the local Jewish community makes it anti-Semitic instead of just anti-Zionistic or anti-Israel, which is a difference. It has been on the rise. It has made the community very wary. Many of our local schools, including, right down the road from you guys, Claremont Colleges has been a hotbed in many ways for the rise of anti-Israel sentiment on campus. Because what it has caused is true fear. The Jewish community is the target of this hatred locally because they can't have that local attention in Israel. And so we become the target. And since we're being targeted for that vitriol animosity towards what's happening, it has many times, not always, has bubbled into anti-Semitism. And what's unique about it is that if you look at an us versus them mentality, the Jewish community is not targeting the pro-Palestinian party except for isolated incidents, like what happened at UCLA and very rare other instances. And so this vitriol towards the Jewish community is very much anti-Semitic in many cases. Like I said, it's not always the case, But when it's targeting Jews for being Jewish because of their perceived connection to Israel, that is where it crosses the line.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Generation Holocaust family survivor. Both my grandparents on both paternal and maternal lost dozens of family members in the Holocaust. So I wholeheartedly appreciate everything you do. My son himself is of mixed culture, half Jewish and half Christian. We as a family celebrate both holidays, right? I want him to appreciate the Jewish holidays and the Christian holidays. I just wanted to say thank you for, the education that you and your entire organization still puts out, because this day and age, things are fairly hostile. And, it's a little bit intimidating to be Jewish these days. Whether you support Israel or not, people find out you're Jewish and that's it. So I wholeheartedly appreciate what you do. And, if Raymond can share my email address with you, I'd really love to participate in, in the books, in further teaching my son things that I don't know, because I'm more of a holiday Jew, is what you call it.
Or secular. We'll go secular.
Let's go with secular. So I would like my son to participate and know more than what I can offer him.
Sounds great. And again, and if any of you have any either connections or know people, please share that we exist. Part of our challenge has been, because we cover such a huge area, many in our community are not aware that we exist. There was back in 2007, there was a shooting at the Jewish Federation of Seattle. And my office was in Covina at the time. And we had a meeting with our local police, and we wanted to talk about security. And they said, well, we'd like you to take the name down off your building. We would suggest you do that because we need people. We don't want you to become a target. And we said, well, if our local Jewish community is not aware that we exist, we're not as concerned about others finding out that we exist, but we'll take that under advisement. So if you do know other people, if you are you aware that there's a Jewish Federation in our community? The more that we can help, as Marilyn pointed out, to kind of, not Marilyn, sorry, Margarita, Marianne, whichever, I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the names of Margarita. The more that we can kind of just be a resource and to kind of be that conduit. One of the things I've prided myself on within this organization is making people feel comfortable at whatever level of engagement they're currently participating in, to let them know that there's a place, and that instead of there being an expectation of belonging or participating, that we exist in essence to ensure that people feel that there's a place to be Jewish at whatever level they're at, and really promote that idea. But also, as I mentioned, really try to be an advocate for all people that have been othered, other people that have been targeted, because we know that allies need allies, and that when you're the target, it doesn't come across the same way when you say, hey, stop targeting me, as when others stand with you and say that's not okay. And that's kind of that ongoing work that we do, and want to ensure we're available for everyone and anybody.
Excellent. Well, Jason, look, thank you for a couple things. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the 25 minutes of education. It was fantastic. Really appreciate you taking the time. And if there's any way that Rotary can work with your organization, you have Raymond's contact, please let us know. And we wish you all the best in all of the challenges and advocacy work that you're doing.
Sounds great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And Raymond, thank you again for inviting me and giving me the opportunity.
All right. Have a great day. Thanks, Jason. Thanks. Okay, folks, let's go ahead and move on. I don't think our fine master is here today, so we are going to move on to Action 360, if that's okay. Raymond, what do we have going on with Feeding Heroes?
Well, you know what? We now have 30 of these boxes all the way, and by the way, we only have 50, so I won't get the other 20 out. But we've got them all the way deep into Orange County. At UCI, there's 2. There are 2 out in the San Fernando Valley. I dropped 2 at the Elks Lodge in West Covina. The VFW Post in Azusa wanted 4 of them to give to their members for different locations. Of course, this one here is in City Hall, or the Sheriff's Station. They're in City Hall. There's one of the chambers. So we've got lots of people involved in gathering food. It's very exciting. And as you can see, you see the Rotary logo, and you see our Rotary Club is right there front and center. So I think it's really cool as far as recognition and getting the job done. So that's looking good. And we're just now beginning to work on the Marine Corps dinner. As you know, we have 5 Gold Star families coming. And we now have all 5 families covered. I have the bios of them. They'll be in the programs. They're all young men who lost their lives in combat, and their mothers and a significant other with the mother will be in attendance at the dinner. We have a speaker, we have entertainment, so it's all coming together. Lastly, the kickoff event. I don't know if you want to talk about that real quick, Mike. You could.
Sure. Yeah. The kickoff event is Thursday, September 26th. It's going to be from 5 to 7 at High Point Brewing Co. in San Dimas. It's on Arrow Highway. Yeah, you bring in 6 cans of food, and we'll buy your first beer. It's going to be a good time. It's always a good turnout. A lot of city officials, a lot of community members, and it really, it's a fun event, but it also serves as a great reminder to promote the food drive right before, 2 days before. So that allows us to post it on social media, and people see it over the next couple of days, and they don't forget that our event's going on, and that that food that they've been gathering, that they're going to drop it off on Saturday at the Masonic Lodge, September 28th.
Yeah, it's real important that if you can't go, you share these social media things. I don't know if you saw that to that event, 34 people have responded as going. And that's pretty good for us. That's more people have responded to going than we have club members. So that's good. Share. If you need a box or know a place there's a box, I have material here to make up more of those great boxes.
Yeah, and if you need it delivered, I have a truck. I can grab the box from Raymond and deliver it anywhere locally that needs one. And then, anybody who plans on attending the kickoff party on the 26th, I know Dominic will be out of town. His staff does a great job over there at High Point. They've already they know how this works. But a couple extra sets of hands would never hurt.
Thank you, Mike.
So the only
Raymond, do we have an? Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say we got to start thinking about Ryla coming up. I want to put that in our conscience, and also teacher mini grants. I know that it's August, but the school year has begun, so our focus is returning to kids. We got Rotary Youth Leadership Academy, Teen Leadership Camp, and teacher mini grants. So I don't know if you've got those committees yet together, Steve, but we got to put those at the forefront. And by the way, that's all fully funded already this year, so that's great too.
Right. I've been keeping an eye on emails and the calendar on DACDB to find dates for Ryla. I do not believe they've been announced yet. But I thought what I would do is work with both Sean and Anthony, and have them kind of be the liaisons for that event. And so as soon as I have some more specifics, I'll make sure and get that information out to them so we can get some kids signed up.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay, Raymond, would you mind putting up the calendar?
Absolutely. Just a moment here. By the way, I gotta say, I think that Jason was another great speaker. And this club nobody gets the quality of speakers we do, and that's really cool. Part of it is because he gets a lot of post-marketing. We'll push this program out via social media. It goes on KWST, so they all appreciate that. But coming up, next will be Brian Major's Training for Triumph. And so this is a leadership motivation fella. And then the satellite club will be in the Project Endeavor. They're still tentative. And then we have a board meeting. And because of the food drive and all that stuff, we're pretty much dark in September because we're really busy with that. And we'll pick up in October with Mount Sac. Jill is going to stop by. And in October, Kelly Holmes from Team Referral Network. We pushed hers because of jury duty. So that's it. If you have a speaker you'd like, I've got to start booking November now.
Perfect. Thank you for
Raymond, I
that.
think it's Marie Russo, not Kelly on the reschedule.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. It is leading with strengths. Let me fix that right now. Thank you. That would have caused me knowing to try to figure out how I should things up. Thank you very much. Done. Fixed.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Raymond. And let's finish up as we always do with the four-way test.
Piece of cake.
And we put Mike on the spot last week during the DG. So instead of Mike giving his excellent breakdown of it, why don't we all just read it together on the count of three? 1, 2, 3. Of the things we think, say, or do,
is it
is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? That wasn't we weren't really in sync there. We'll have to work on our timing, but with no rehearsal, I'm impressed. So all right, folks, thanks. Another great meeting. Week after week, we get stuff done. We have great speakers. I really, really look forward to every one of our meetings. And with that said, we don't have one next week. So I will see everybody in 2 weeks. Stay cool, stay safe, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Steve.
Bye.
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 Thanks, Ray.